Naked's what I call my way of cooking. What I cook in the restaurant isn't what I cook at home. Cooking's got to be a laugh. It's got to be simple, it's got to be tasty, it's got to be fun. I suppose you could say it's stripping down the recipe to its bare essentials. No way, it's not meat, it's food. We're going to the Wolf and Sow Dogs tonight, which is quite a laugh, really. I always think sort of watching 6 dogs running after a stuffed rabbit is a bit of a laugh. But basically, I've got some mates coming round for dinner. There's only 3 of them. We've got Damo, Pierre and Ben. Aussies. And they've never been to the dogs before. And I've kind of said that I know what I'm talking about, and I don't really. So I'm trying to get prepared here. I've got the old Racing Post, which is a really good read. Basically, because I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm picking names that mean something to me. So, like, for instance, at 7:43, I've got, I'm a bit stuck between 2 here. I've got Classy by Nature, which is obviously me, and Rockstar Jim, which is kind of me, and I don't know which one to pick there, but for instance, I'm going to suggest to Ben that on the 7:56 he goes for Brenda Bruce, and I reckon Damo should go for Slippy Vicky from Billericay.
And what are you going to cook?
Well, I'm just doing a really, really tasty, very, very kind of homey friendly kind of dish, all done in a tray, not much washing up, and it'll be just really wholesome and gutsy, really, because it's going to be a bit chilly tonight, so I've got to get cracking. So I've got my regular bit of supermarket puff pastry here, and I'm just going to lightly flour the old surface, and I just want to kind of treble it in size.
I wouldn't have thought a professional chef would use frozen pastry.
Well, in the restaurant, I make my own. But I suppose in the reality of home and not making your own puff pastry, what we're doing is livening up the good old bought stuff, yeah? So I've got an egg here, which I just break up with my fingers. And basically, this is just to sort of stick it. And you just rub it. You don't need the whole egg. It's a bit of a waste, really, but you want to get a good stick. All right? So while we're here, I thought we'd flavour it as well. So I've got some nutmeg and some cinnamon. Like nutmeg, just like almost season it, just a touch. And then you've got the cinnamon, yeah? You can be a bit more generous. Now sugar's quite important because like when the sugar melts and cooks to the pastry, it will go kind of chewy, which is lovely. So quite a bit of sugar. And then this is the easy bit, and I do this with bread as well, with like bread and pesto. It's fantastic. You just roll it up. Try and keep it as tight and pinch it. And the egg will kind of keep it in place. And it looks kind of a bit like a Chelsea bun, really. So I'm cutting into sort of like inch-thick wedges. And you can see those little round bits, they look dead cool. I'm only doing 6. The rest, you can just cling film it and freeze it. Put a little bit of flour. And just use the palm of my hand in and squeeze it. So it's like a little patty. And then we just want to flatten them out and get them nice and thin. And as you're doing that, you can see like these really wacky sort of circles. And this bit will probably hang out, so just fold it under. Nice and thin is the key. 6, done. Okay, the next thing is we've got to bake these little tigers. So, clever idea. I use the back side of glasses. So, look, put your butter in your hand and just smear it around the outside and rub it into the top. And then once we've done that, that will basically stop it from sticking. We have to get a bit of flour on it. Wiggle them around.
Won't they break in the oven, the glasses?
No. Normal glass at kind of 190 degrees for 15 minutes. It's not going to do nothing. Don't use your best crystal. And we're going to kind of pleat them a bit like a dodgy pair of old pleated trousers or an old kilt or something. It's not like the Frenchy kind of pastries where they're all exactly the same size, and if they're the wrong size, someone's going to start crying or something. So that's it, done. Easy peasy. Whack it in the oven. Generally about 10 to 15 minutes, 180, 190, and until golden. Yeah. Nice little tarts, mate.
The frill looks very sweet at the bottom, I think.
Well, it's not actually supposed to be a frill, Pat, actually. It's supposed to be much more manly than that. But there we go. Now, I'm going to make the custard filling, which is pretty important as it's a custard tart. Right, so what I need is a pint of double cream, and heat it to just before boiling point. I want 6 eggs, large eggs they are, free range of course. I'm going to use honey instead of sugar. 6 dessert spoons, not tablespoons, dessert spoons, roughly.
So it's 1 spoon of honey per egg.
No, that's what I like about you, Pat. You're always fast, my love. Vanilla pods. Cut from the tip to the bottom and just scrape all those lovely seeds out. Now, I'm going to take this tart slightly different direction. Put the zest of an orange in there. Whisk it up. The vanilla looks really, really funky. It's got all those seeds. And I can see the little bubbles coming up around the outside of this now. So I'm going to take it off and I'm going to whisk it in. That's the important bit. Otherwise you'll have scrambled eggs. Yeah. So as soon as I've done that, I'm going to pour it back into the pan, all the time keeping it on the move. And I'm going to put it back onto that medium-high heat. The important thing is to make sure you get in the sides. I suppose I'm lucky because I've got a round pan. Right, so what I'm going to do is make a little bit of caramel. I can't stop whisking this custard. But, put like the equivalent of a good handful of sugar in there. Put a touch of water in there, like about a tablespoon, and get that on a heat. Caramel's just sugar basically, and then we'll pour that on top of it, and it will go amazing. You get that lovely creamy, crispy, and then that crunchy sugar thing. So you can see how thick that is now. That's fine. Go back to the spatula and basically fill up these little darlings. Don't completely fill them because I'm kind of using a little bit too much pastry to sort of protect it really. Cool. So at this point just jiggle them about a bit. Jiggle, jiggle. So when your old caramel gets to a kind of like autumny, goldeny brown sort of looking, just put like a little sip over each little tart. And that's it, all done really. So I'm going to let these cool down, get them out of the way.
They look great.
When I was at work, we used to get asked to do doggy bags and stuff. And I always used to make these ridiculous like handbags out of tin foil. And we need to take these tarts to the dogs. So I'm going to stitch the boys up, yeah? So what you do is you get a really big length of tin foil, yeah? Fold it in half. Imagine they're the tarts, right? Fold it over. Scrumple it up so they're all protected. Join them up. And scrunch it. So you've got like these really strange like metal handbags, right? And I'm going to give them to Damo and Ben to take, and there's going to be these big butch geezers with these little handbags. I'm a strange boy, aren't I? Right, I'm going to make a bit of lunch. Do you want some? Fancy a bit? Bit of pasta, got some boiling water. Good pinch of salt. Otherwise your pasta will taste horrible.
I'm not wild about those bows, though.
Ooh, not wild about the bows? Mate, we call it farfalle in Essex, because we're that much classier. I got pancetta. Got it from the supermarket. It's basically the Italian version of smoky, streaky bacon. So I'm going to take about 8 thin little slices. So I'll just slice these up into sort of like centimetre bits. Pan on, bit of heat, add a little bit of olive oil, a lug just to loosen it up. So I'm going to put this into the pan. You want it crispy, it's got to be nice and crispy for it to taste nice. And pine nuts, about two large kind of handfuls. But they've got to be kind of almost toasted and roasted and golden to taste like they really should taste. So keep this on the move, because we don't want to get blacky brown on one side and then sort of nothing on the other. Nice and crispy. 1 clove of garlic. Just peel it and finely chop the old boy. I didn't put that in earlier because it would have been black by now. So just at the last minute. And the smell, it smells fantastic. I'm going to turn down the heat while I quickly my main ingredient out, which is a Savoy cabbage, of all things. And people don't use these lovely green outside leaves. I mean, look at them, they're fantastic. They've got slightly stalky stalk, which you line them all up together and do a little, well, big V and get rid of it. Run it under a little cold water.
I always throw the outer leaves away.
No, don't throw them away. They're really, really good for you. Then I just fold it up and finely chop it.
I I've never thought of using cabbage with pasta.
No. I will convert you. And these green bits need more cooking than the light green stuff. And then with regards to this lot, I only need a little bit. So just take a quarter, take the old stalk out, and finely slice it again.
This cabbage doesn't have a very good reputation, does it really?
It's got a terrible reputation, but I can't really blame it, really, when you think about what people do to it. I mean, they crucify it. I mean, my nan puts it in a pressure cooker, mate, and cooks it like it's been to Chernobyl and back. So I want to stop it frying now, right? Because the frying was to get things crispy. I want to steam it so the cabbage goes really juicy. So you can whack a lid on, but I'm just going to put my plate on because I don't like putting hot pasta on the cold plates. So mozzarella, parmesan, and butter. I want a nice slice of butter, a good knob. So this is all softened up already. Let's just push that butter to the bottom. Here we go, mozzarella. Cut that into sort of centimetre dice. Don't have to be definite, but you know, kind of thereabouts. And then for parmesan, just get that grated up. Let's just test the old pasta again. Right, 6 minutes, sorted. So, drain it, as we always do, and before it's running out, save the water in this pot. I'll tell you why in a second. Superb. That is done. Right, that is finished. It tastes good, it looks good. The parmesan's going to go in, which is brilliant. That's really nice, creamy thing. Mix it up, and the mozzarella's going in. But when it starts melting, it kind of goes all stringy, kind of like spider webby kind of thing. Now the pasta can go in as well. And the problem normally with pasta at home with us normal folk is that whatever the sauce is, we say, right, we've got our sauce, we've got our pasta, let's just mix it up and that's it. But I want you to think a bit more. It's all cold and tasty, but this cooking liquor, which is slightly starchy, just put a bit in there. Because of the cheese and the butter and the mozzarella, you should be able to kind of, if you keep moving it about, get this lovely creamy sauce. I saw this when I was in Italy, actually. I saw them making in the kitchen. I was looking and like checking it out. I always check the kitchens out. And he was using like a ladle from the cooking wall. I was thinking, dirty old scrubber putting cooking liquor in there. What's he doing, you know? Tried it when I got home. It really helps. That's perfect now. It looks exactly how I want it. Yeah, fantastic. So, happy days. We're done. Juicy, juicy. Bit of parmesan over the top. Tuck in, babe. Oh, do you want a shovel?
Delicious.
Right, I've got to get cracking. I'm after 4 nice big chops, pork chops.
Not right. Get the top man at it. Chris?
Chris, me old tiger. Is there any chance of having, like, cutting double chops and then losing a rib and just sort of lose a bit of the rib and a bit of fat and then batten it out a bit?
Yeah. So like 2 ribs, yeah?
Yeah,
That's 2
lovely,
ribs.
yeah. Fantastic.
Like that. Sawn across there.
Well, just like, normally I just like lose a rib and then kind of
We could lose a bit of the chine bone as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's 1 portion, is it?
Yeah.
Can't be bad. Do you want the rind taken out?
Just like lose about half the rind and then I just normally give it a whack with a cleaver or something.
I'll take the rind.
That's lovely, yeah. Nice pork, isn't it?
Mm.
I went to the old butcher's and I bought these pork chops. Now they are absolute animals. Look at these, I mean they are full on
They're huge.
big chops.
Presumably you could use some normal pork chops.
Yep, you can use normal pork chops, but we like to make a difference, don't we? I'm going to do a marinade for that. So, a nice big bunch of thyme. The kind of top half of this is like quite nice and tender and juicy. So I'm just going to kind of just chop this down to about there. And then when I get down to this woody bit, the really woody bit I'll cut off and lose. And this stuff, which is still quite tender, I'm going to put into the old pestle and mortar with a good pinch of salt, because it's kind of abrasive. And I just pound and bruise the old stalks, get all those juices out. And it doesn't really matter that you've got kind of stalky bits in there, because what you want to do is get the old flavour on the meat, and then when it cooks, it's going to fall off. So, lovely. Big bulb of garlic, yeah? Just break it up in your hand, whole cloves, don't bother peeling it. And I just want to crack it, just to release a little bit of flavour into the oil when I put it in. See, I'm not smashing it, I'm just cracking it. Essentially, I want to leave it whole, and when that roasts with the pork, the inside of the garlic's going to go really sweet, and then you just squeeze it over. Beautiful, I love all that. Lemons, nice big lemon. With a peeler, I'm just going to take a nice strip of the old skin off.
When you say marinade, I always think about things that you have to leave in bottles of red wine for 24 hours.
Yeah, you can get a stringy old bit of tough meat, and you can put a couple of bottles of wine and some fruit and veg and whatever in, and marinate it for days or months for all I care, and then stew it up. Fine, that's one way of doing it. But there's so many, I mean, like, even if you just pound up some basil or coriander and put some olive oil in there and brush that over some swordfish, or you can go kind of spicy and have paprika and coriander seeds and chilies and stuff, and like rub that into lamb and then serve it with couscous. Oh, fantastic. I love all that, you know, that's what it's all about. These lemons, I'm just going to squeeze a fair bit of juice in, chuck them in with the pork. Nice one. I just want to kind of, just want to, got in my eye. Bruise up the old lemon skin, and then I want to get olive oil in there. You want enough oil just to kind of make sure you can scrunch it and get all those oils out at the time. Yeah, that's good. And you know that's going to just taste nice. So just pour that all over the meat. Get it out of there. And now what we need to do is get that into the pork. Actually, I'm going to cheat, because ideally these pork chops would need a good hour or two, but I haven't got that. I've got like 10 minutes, so I'm just going to lightly score the old porkies, just to kind of let a little bit of the marinade penetrate. Kind of want to scrunch it in like you're massaging someone. Get it in there, do you know what I mean? So, you know, those Japanese folk, they actually massage their cows and stuff while they're alive, right? And they sell it as cuts of meat. It's so expensive, like it's complete delicacy. Talk about go over the top, do you know what I mean? Can you imagine our farmers doing it? Come on, Daisy. Marinate it in there. Right, this is lovely. It looks good. It smells good. And it will be very nice. So, some potatoes, right? I'm just going to wash them a little bit.
Do you peel them as well?
No, I don't want to peel them. Right, it's got this big chop, which takes about an hour to cook. So I have to think, right, well, what is this potato going to do in an hour? Right, I say that thickness is going to be lovely. It's going to be absolutely pucker. So a centimetre will definitely cook within an hour. If it was less time, I'd cut them thinner, basically. So I'm just going to chuck these in here. Fantabby-dawsy. Right, what do I need now? 3 nice parsnips. What does drive me up the wall is I always cut the end off. Why? Well, they must pull them out of the ground and go, oh, I don't like those tips, so I take them off like that. And I'm going to get my little tip that's been taken off, just going to sharpen it back up again, because that's how frustrated I am about my end being taken off. Like that, see? You cut it in half, and you cut it in quarter, and if it looks a little bit woody, we can remove a touch of that stalk, because we don't want to eat stalky stuff, right? But if it's nice and tender, right? What you got is these like lovely little kind of boaty bits, yeah? And when it cooks, this bit goes really like juicy, the middle bit kind of goes sweet and chewy, and the end bit goes nice and crunchy. And then when they cook, they kind of go like this. Pears. Got some nice fat pears, and I just half it again and quarter it again. So again, in an hour, that is going to be beautiful. I'm going to use the marinade oil to kind of coat all the veggies, kind of mess up everything and lay a pork chop on. Yeah, we want the pork chop on the top so they get nice and roasted, yeah? But we want kind of like the parsnips sticking out. We want the potatoes sticking out. I want kind of lemon in the corner. I want a bit of pear poking out. It's fantastic. Dead chuffed with that. About an hour, oven, 250. Be nice and golden. And it will taste beautiful. Let's get it in there. Nice one. I'm going to make this fantastic sauce to go with the pork. It's really good. It sets it off a treat. It's all based around bread. And before you think I'm going to get my milk out and start boiling it up and making a bread sauce, you're wrong. Just take the old crust off. This is stale bread, by the way. Stale bread's much better for this because fresh bread's a bit doughy, isn't it, and a bit moist. I mean, I always have stale bread kicking around because I never eat all of it. Yeah, this looks a bit like one of those scrubby backy things. What are they called?
Loofah.
A loofah. Where on earth do they get those names from? A loofah. Slice up the bread. You can put it in a Magimix if you want to be quicker, but it's easy enough to be au naturel, isn't it?
Could you use frozen breadcrumbs from the freezer?
Frozen?
Now, sometimes if you have a bit of stale bread hanging around and you put it in the Magimix and you put the breadcrumbs in the freezer, they can be quite easy.
That's fantastic, Pat. You've obviously done it then. What's that for your chicken Kiev? No, I've got no experience in frozen breadcrumbs, but getting back to the proper fresh stale bread. Fresh stale bread. So I've got some nice chunky bits, but also there's a lot of nice fine stuff as well. Right, lovely. That's the basis of the sauce, which is kind of cool. Lovely bunch of mint from the market. And you can get nice big fresh bunches of mint in the supermarkets now, which is really cool. So look, as soon as you feel a bit of tension, which is about now, I'm just going to pick these lovely leaves off and then get rid of the stalks. Give it a good old chopping. Right, so that's pretty fine, a little bit chunky. Now what we need is some mustard. Very important, Dijon mustard. I'm going to put all the mint in with the bread. Equal quantities of mint and bread. A really nice dessert spoon of mustard. Yeah, and that's going to be lovely. And then basically add olive oil to loosen it. So about 12 tablespoons.
Very unusual.
Olive oil. It's very nice. It'd be fantastic with lamb, but I tell you the best thing I've ever had with this is boiled chicken. Oh, and some boiled carrots and potatoes. Fantastic. Really, 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 really tasty. So look, bit of salt and pepper. And now I'm going to put a bit of the old red wine vinegar in. Again, quite important. So like about a tablespoon of that. A little bit of water sort of brings out that creaminess from the bread. Because you wouldn't think that bread can go creamy, but it does. You can just scrunch it as well on the side of the bowl. But the best thing you can do for this, flavour-wise, once you've got it right, and that is tasting really good now, is leave it for about half an hour. And it gets so tasty. And that's it.